I feel like with any custom engine, it's getting off the ground in the first place, because that's the big advantage that engines provide, is that you can make a what do they call it, a vertical slice of a game rather quickly, whereas I didn't have anything playable for 6-7 months.
Hello everyone, I'm John Aljets, and today I am speaking to the developer behind Eternal Skies, a TCG RPG that is currently in the works. Connor, how you doing?
I'm good. I can't complain. I'm off today, so how about you?
Well, it's always good to have a day off. I am doing okay. It's Monday, so it is start of the work week for me, but can't complain too much, I guess. So Eternal Skies, this is something that I've been following on Blue Sky for a while. I've been watching some of your updates and things over there. It is a TCG RPG. Oh, cat. It is a TCG RPG, which is a genre that we don't see very often. And even in the past where we've gotten some of them, they're not a very common genre. What made you want to go with this specific subgenre?
Well, it's specifically because I like playing them, and as you said, there aren't exactly that many to play. So if I want to play one, I kind of had to make it, because there are a handful of indies in the genre, but they're not really usually in-depth enough that you can sink your teeth into it, and I always end up going back and playing the Pokemon trading card game. And
yeah, off the top of my head, I was sitting there over the weekend knowing that we had this interview coming up. I was like really trying to rack my brain thinking of ones that I had played in the past or ones that I even knew of. And the only two that I could actually think of were the Pokemon trading card game and the Magic the Gathering PC game from the 90s, which
the 1997 one. Yeah, I love Shandalar.
Those are the only two that I could think of. And then I'm sure that because there were a bunch of Digimon and Yu-Gi-Oh games, I'm sure one of those had to be one. There's
1,000 Yu-Gi-Oh games.
Yeah, well, I've never played them, so I don't know if they have the RPG elements or they're just
that's what there are a lot in the Yu-Gi-Oh. They were the last ones to keep making them in English, at least. In Japanese, there are a ton. I'm not sure if there still are, but when you go back, you see there are a lot in Japanese. But other than that, the big ones would be like the Card Fighters Clash way back on the Neo Geo Pocket, and a bunch of Yu-Gi-Oh ones up through the PSP. That's about it.
Were there any specific ones that you are drawing inspiration from?
I mean, card game mechanic wise, mine's most similar to Magic because I love Magic. I just think it's the best card game. And I like to manage my mana. I can't stand how everyone wants to copy Hearthstone now. And I like the real-time stack-based interactions. But I think that the best one in the genre is probably the Pokemon trading card game on the Game Boy Color. And I don't feel like anyone has ever really done it perfectly. So
what are you doing with your game in an attempt to try to stand out and to try to get us closer to doing it perfectly in your own mind?
Well, there are a few things. For one, mostly customization, I would say, is you can call it the Bethesda approach of, if I don't do it well, the players can fix it. Like, everything in the game can be modified really easily. And I'm going to have a card creator tool built into the game as well. So you can edit the cards from it, but it's really just a JSON file. You can edit anything you want at any time. So I'm hoping for some help with things like balance and be able to grow it from there and have people build their own things within the framework of my game, which will also give me more things to play. So other than that, I think the biggest inspiration, I think the Pokemon trading card game did almost everything right, except the story was a bit in it. In addition to that, I added I tried to add something for everyone. Like, if you want to play it as a visual novel and not ever play cards at all, there's modes for that. If you like to do a super hardcore mode, there's built-in Nuzlocke modes. If you want to speed run or something, there are classic arcade modes which are structured like cups in Mario Kart. So I'm trying to have a variety of options for people to play.
Now let's talk about the actual card game in the game itself. Something that I do know from a lot of past TCG RPGs or just card games on, consoles or computers in general is that a lot of times the card game will either introduce cards that can only exist in the context of a video game, or their rules just in general can only exist in the digital realm, be it because of a lot of like random mechanics or things of that nature. Have you given any thought to whether or not your card game could feasibly exist in the physical world or not?
This was designed to be able to exist in paper. I did change it eventually and add a tutor cards that are random, but everything was aimed to exist in paper, which the origination of that is I spend a lot of, my partner is from Poland. I spend a lot of time in Poland. Despite the fact that Poland is a large market in Europe, none of the major trading card games are available in Polish. And it's not the most English-friendly country. So kids will not be speaking English well enough to play card games, but nothing is available in Polish. So, not that I'm necessarily ever going to make a paper card game, but I wanted it to be maybe down the road I'll make something in Poland that people could actually play in Polish.
It's a little odd to me that even like Magic doesn't release a Polish version.
It's odd to me too. The only thing that happened was Pokemon made 2 sets in Diamond and Pearl. So 15 years ago, they made exactly 2 sets in Polish and then never again.
It's bizarre to me because I know that it's released in so many different languages. I would think that Polish would be one of them, but so, okay. You talk about the customizability of your game. Is it something where you're going to, like, would it be feasible for people to completely change out the card game in general, or just introduce new cards? Like, if I wanted it to be Magic the Gathering, because I am also a Magic player primarily, could I do enough modding that it is fully just Magic, or is the card engine going to be a little bit more limited?
It's going to be a little different because while there are many mechanics that it shared with Magic, it certainly won't have all of Magic's mechanics. So you couldn't put every card in there. You could put some Magic cards in there, but the balance is going to be different. And I mean, there are no lands. Maybe you could get it to work, some stuff to work just as lands. And man, I don't know how much someone played around with it. Maybe you could make a nice facsimile of Magic, but there is some stuff that make it a completely different card game. So I don't know if because this was also inspired by, I mentioned the Poland, and which is where Slavic mythology comes in, part of the inspiration. The other part is the Dreamcast game Skies of Arcadia. I'm not sure how familiar you are with that.
Love it.
But in Skies of Arcadia, you fight battles in 2 distinct phases. There's the ship phase, ship-to-ship combat, and then the player, your party fighting the actual enemies. So I have that mirrored in my card game. So that is something that you would not be able to take out. Even if you mirrored Magic cards, there's still a distinct ship phase that happens prior to more ordinary card combat.
Now that has me really curious on how your card game actually works. Like, give me like a really, really, really brief, like obviously like without being able to show me, it's sometimes kind of hard to explain how these games work, but what does a general gameplay session look like with your card?
I mean, I do have a rule book on my my NeoCities site.
Oh.
But the difference is, so there is mana management, but there are not lands. So the crew or the creatures themselves are what provide mana. So you have to have a base of enough that have 0 cost to get you off the ground. That way you have to make decisions whether you want to use them for mana or attacking or whatever, what have you. But the ship phase is essentially, you can think of it, it operates most of the time as like a build-up phase, because the crew cannot attack each other directly. They can only attack via the ship's cannons if they are to attack. So if you're playing a burn deck, like if you're playing mono red and like you're gonna use those cannons and just blow the crap out of your opponent. But if you're a ramp deck or anything else, you have this sort of buffer phase where there's little interactions where you get to build up your board before things start.
So
ones with flying can interact normally.
I appreciate you communicating it to me in terms of Magic the Gathering lingo, because like to me that clicks, and I really hope that our audience at the very least knows what ramp means or things of that nature. You'll understand.
I have to watch myself to not use the Magic lingo too much in the game, because Wizards has in the past, sued people over that.
Yeah, so. I tried designing a card game a few years ago. And it's something that I have on the back burner, and maybe it's the kind of thing that I'll revisit in the past. But while making that game, it was very, very difficult for me to not call all of like the creatures or call them creatures or call them like instant spells and enchantments, all that sort of stuff. Because I'm like, these are functionally very similar to this Magic thing.
Yeah, I have the same issue because my friends play Magic, and I have to describe it to them in Magic terms. But I'm like, technically, they're crew.
Yeah, just changing the name of it, but still like, still sitting there and being like, yeah, I guess that's just a creature, even though I'm not calling it a minion in my game. But
when I was coming up with the cards, I came up with basically the whole card game while I was in the shower.
Do some of your best thinking in the shower, or is that just where it hits you that time?
That's why I have a waterproof notepad in there. And I'd sit there and write out notes for cards.
A waterproof notepad.
Yeah.
I do a lot of my thinking in the shower, and I just put my phone inside a waterproof bag, but a waterproof notepad would actually be pretty rad. Maybe
I sit there on the floor of my shower, like writing out. I have like different screens like drawn out in my little tiny notepad. Yeah.
Hey man, if it works for you, it works for you. Getting into the development of this a little bit, one thing that I always ask people, and I'm especially curious with you, is are you using an engine? And if so, which one? Because like looking at the videos that you put out and all of your development updates and everything, I can't place what environment you're making this game in, or if it's a scratch made thing.
Well, I'm using a framework, which is Pygame, but Pygame is definitely not an engine. So it is definitely built from scratch, because Pygame is essentially just a wrapper around SDL. So it's pretty much, it lets me draw rectangles. That's about the most of it. So it's pretty much built from scratch, yeah.
And why did you decide to go that way as opposed to using like Game Maker, Unity, or Godot, or whatever?
Just familiarity. In my day job, I've been a Python programmer for over a decade, so figured I should stick with what I know. And I know people are like, oh, there are things that are similar to Python. I'm like, I still have to learn something. Like I'm pretty good at Python at this point, so might as well stick to it.
And is like, what are you finding to be the most difficult about development for you right now? Like, what has been the biggest hurdle that you've had to overcome?
Well, I feel like with any custom engine, it's getting off the ground in the first place, because that's the big advantage that engines provide, is that you can make a what do they call it, a vertical slice of a game rather quickly, whereas, I didn't have anything playable for 6-7 months until I couldn't even really test my card game to see if it played decently at all until I had everything built. But it's pretty easy now. In the last 2-3 weeks, I've added another 50 cards to the game. So it's proven to be a lot more robust than I expected in adding and modifying things. But the difficulty is starting in the first place.
That's fair. Do you think that going with a custom engine helps with your goal of being very customizable?
Maybe. I don't necessarily think it matters, because I had someone asking me about this the other day, and I didn't realize like that a lot of people who make card games hard code the card behavior into the card, because that thought never crossed my mind. Like, to me, making a modular system that is interpreted by the engine is just the natural way to do things.
Yeah, I'm thinking about how I would handle it myself, and I guess hard coding it into the cards itself does make sense to a certain degree, because then it's functionally kind of on the back end working the same way that like a regular item might work within like a traditional battle system. But I would think that you'd want to have the overarching like back end framework structure of the rules of the game running, and then the cards just interact with that. At least that's how that I would think that you would want to set that up.
I mean, it's definitely easier to hard code it at first and for a small number of cards. But once you get into like, that's a lot of the games in the genre I see are smaller experiences, the indie ones that have 100 or so cards, and it's easier then. But when you get into hundreds of cards, then it's easier to have like a keyword system like Magic.
And I know that, you know, obviously, as we've talked about, you are wanting this game to be very customizable by the user, but are you planning on offering support after release, maybe via quote unquote official card set releases or something similar to that?
Yeah, I mean, I plan on doing probably some DLC for cheap. I'd like to partner with other indie games, just because I think that would be a blast to sit down with someone's game and come up with like a specific mechanic that reflects their game. I think would be a fun thing to add. I also have a DLC, but that's a story that is just a complete joke. But
I mean, honestly, based off of the videos that I've seen in your game and everything like that, it does seem to have a bit of a tongue-in-cheek tone to it. So having a bit of a joke story DLC, I think, would match up pretty well.
I'm a programmer. I know that I have programmer art, and I'm not going to make anything gorgeous, so you might as well just embrace it. And these games haven't existed for a while, so I'm leaning into it being like 2001. I should have worn a backwards hat for this interview or a starter jacket. But
did you at any point during like the earlier stages of development think about teaming up with an artist or like work on non-programmer art at all?
The programmer art is probably not going to be final in the game. There will be other art. I will probably hire people. My partner is doing some art, and like the good art, my dad did the character art because he's a real artist. But it's all going to be in there. I was thinking, like, if it was ever popular enough that people made fan art or anything, I will just put it all in the game. It's already built that if you hover over a card and just mouse wheel, it'll cycle through the art. So
you've got a framework in place that can be done pretty easily. I guess the big question and the thing that a lot of people are going to be curious about coming out of this interview is going to be just simply, when can we expect to get this game? Like, do you have any ideas on how far out you might be, even from just a demo release?
Well, from a demo, I don't actually know. I'm gonna have some friends try it within the next month or two. I wanted to get all of the cards in at least 2 colors out there, and as of this morning, I'm at 94 out of 97 cards for red and green. So I'll get it out to some friends, but a demo probably won't be for a while. There'd be, I guess, alpha, pre-alpha, whatever, for people in my Discord at some point. I wouldn't expect release for another like 2 years though, or something. It's,
well, you know,
card games pretty involved, and then I got to build all.
Yeah.
I figured the reason nobody makes these things anymore is one, you can make more money having your card game be multiplayer, and two, you kind of have to be a crazy person to build a whole card game and then build a whole RPG on top of it. So,
yeah, it is not. It's a ton of work because you're effectively designing 2 games in a lot of ways at the same time. But good things come to those who wait. So if people are willing to be patient.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get at least friends and people in the Discord. I want the card game out before I ever start the RPG to start balancing the cards. So I'll be recruiting experienced card game players to help
Smart
work on balance. Though, again, if anyone doesn't like something, just change the JSON file.
Which is a brilliant part of all of this. So yeah, if you are at all interested in what we've been talking about, you can go ahead and you can wishlist it. I will have a link for that. Also, you can go ahead and join the Discord. I will have a link for that as well as the Blue Sky, which I've been following, and any other social things will be down in the description. One last question that I have for you, and this is something that I make a habit of with these interviews, or at least I'm trying to make a habit of it. Obviously, you wouldn't be doing this if you weren't passionate about games. Games are something that we all really enjoy. And the purpose of me doing these developer interviews is to, get some eyes on smaller projects that maybe aren't getting the big push that I think that they deserve. So to sort of pay that forward, I'm curious if there's either an indie game or just like maybe a lesser known game that you aren't seeing a lot of people talking about that you think people should check out.
I have to check my Steam wish list real quick because I don't remember the name. One guy, every time I see his, it's the most beautiful game. Magic Trickery by Sam Drake. It's not out yet, and it still says to be announced. But if you look at it, good, it's play. It is beautiful. It's an RPG that looks kind of Earthboundy, but I just love the guy's art.
Go ahead and check that out. In this edit, you've seen some footage of that art style, so hopefully that intrigues yourself. But of course, you can also get over and wishlist Eternal Skies, which I definitely recommend that you do, because I'm looking forward to it as someone who is an avid Magic player and someone who loves TCGs in general. I'm all over this, and I'm going to be waiting with bated breath for its release. Connor, thank you so much for talking to me today. It's been truly a pleasure.
On the Magic subject, I have a question for you.
Okay, hit me with it.
How do you feel about all the crossovers?
That's a complicated question. On one hand, I think it's great because it is drawing attention to the game from people who might not pay attention to Magic otherwise. But on the other hand, as somebody who loves the lore of Magic as a world, I'm a little worried that we're going to lose that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not a huge fan because I used to buy the books. I loved the books, and
I've got so many of the books. They're all like packed away, actually, right behind me.
Yeah, that's all going to be gone now. So.
Yeah, I'm a little worried that we're going to lose that element of it. And sometimes some of the crossovers, I'm like, that was really stupid. Why did you do that? Like, why do we have SpongeBob SquarePants Secret Lair?
I knew it was going to be SpongeBob.
But I would be lying if I didn't say that I bought a booster box of Final Fantasy. I'm also a Final Fantasy fan, so like that's not a surprise. But I don't know. I'm worried, but tentatively okay with it personally.